What's up, guys? Last week I asked you which mobile suit I should start this project with, and overwhelmingly you voted to see me do surgery on a Shenlong Gundam. So that's exactly what we're going to do. In this video, I'm going to cover removing nub marks, cleaning off the dust, removing stickers and cleaning off sticker residue, and repairing any divots or holes in the plastic using epoxy putty to get this guy all set up to scribe and paint. And that's about enough out of me, so let's just jump right into it. So here it is. This is the 1/144th scale Gundam Shenlong. I believe that this is before they even started making high grades, so I think that this is a non-grade mobile suit. As you can see, most of the parts are actually here and intact. I've got some floppy joints that we're going to have to fix when we start putting this guy back together. But one thing that is missing and or broken was the beam glaive that came with this unit. And as you can see, I've got some broken beam tridents that must have come from the Ultron and the Nataku Gundams from the sort of Endless Waltz series. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to use Oyumaru to duplicate these parts. You can see my video tutorial on that. I'll put a little card in the description. So what I'm going to do is duplicate one of these beam tridents and use that as the weapon for this Gundam. And we're going to try as best as we can to model it to look like this Endless Waltz version of the Shenlong. Honestly, this mobile suit looks a lot cooler than the anime version anyway. And as you can see, it's armed with the beam trident instead of the beam glaive. So I don't think that's a major loss. I think it's actually going to look a lot cooler for the work that we're doing. So the first thing we're going to have to do to this guy is just take him apart. You can see that this is one of the bad habits that I had when I was a teenager building these things, is rather than making sure that the parts fit properly and either gluing them in place or something like that, I would ball up little pieces of tape and just kind of clog the openings where pieces were supposed to fit in. Now, as you can see, it seems to fit in pretty tightly there, but you know, it just looks awful. You have this little, I don't even know what that is. It's got to be a ball of tape in there or something. So we're just trying to get in here with the hobby knife and pop this piece out gently without damaging it any further, because obviously, you know, we've still got some nub marks here that we're going to have to remove. As you can see, that was a terrible way to mount that V-fin into the head, and it's super damaged now. So we're probably gonna have to use some kind of solvent to, it looks like maybe this was super glued. Honestly, it's probably been about 17 years since I've touched this piece, so it may be super glued, I don't know. But better safe than sorry. I don't want to break any more pieces off of there. Now, another detail is these awful little rubber hands with holes in them. These have got to go. I'll probably save them for, you know, just in case. But we're not going to be needing them anyway because we're going to be replacing them with some of these HD Builders parts. And see, even here on the breastplate, there's some nub marks that we're going to have to remove. Okay, so this was not super glued. I was worried that it was. That would have been a huge problem, and it would have had to be very delicate to try and get that part out. And that's sort of the key when disassembling these older kits that you may have not touched in a while, is to try not to force anything. This is terrible. I just taped this piece shut. Now, fortunately, like I said, this is actually, I believe it predates the high-grade model kits. You can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but there aren't a whole lot of parts to this kit, so I'm really not worried about keeping everything organized because it is going to be super easy to put this thing back together. And I think what we're going to end up doing is when we do put it back together, we are going to seal it up with plastic cement and make sure that there are no seam lines, so that'll be an even better looking kit. I'm still debating whether I am going to be scribing extra panel lines in while the parts are separated or after I have cemented them together. So it'll be a learning process. If you guys have experience doing one way or the other, let me know what your experience was and I will hopefully learn from it. Yeah, see, that's what I was trying to avoid by using the hobby knife, is not having all this gunk on here. Although I don't think we're going to be able to avoid it entirely just because this model kit has been sitting in storage for so long that I think we're going to end up with some parts that just have residue on them. And that's okay because I don't mind sanding these parts down anyway. We're going to end up, repainting everything because this just looks awful. The dragon claw is, again, I'm not sure if what I was thinking. I probably painted it with whiteout or something, and so we're gonna try and treat this part with some enamel thinner and see if that removes the paint without damaging the plastic, because that is the name of the game, is try to take this thing apart without doing any more damage than we already have. And these kits predate the HG kits where the shoulder armor and the arm are two different parts. The arms are attached to the shoulder armor, which it was unfortunate in the way that it limited the mobility of the arm inside of the shoulder armor, but I understand why they did it, because it was less moving parts and a little bit simpler to put together. So if possible, in my customization of this model, I will see if there is a way that I can mount a little plate in there so that I can attach the arm directly to the kit, or the torso of the kit, and then slide the shoulder armor over the top of it, like the more current inline HG kits. Now, another thing that you're probably going to see on a lot of these kits that I'm repairing is just a lot of dust from when these guys were on display in my room in high school. And so I'm going to get in here with just a regular paintbrush and, pretend like I'm Ian Grant from Jurassic Park cleaning off an old dinosaur fossil, because a lot of these dusty spots are in hard to reach places. Ow. Now, using the hobby knife like this is my favorite way to remove nub marks traditionally, but as I mentioned, because of the way that I removed the parts from the sprue originally, there's going to be a lot of stress marks in the plastic. And on top of that, we're going to paint the kit anyway. So if there's any smaller parts like this, I'm actually just going to go in with a little file and sand those parts down until they're smooth. Now again, I mentioned I was going to use some of this enamel thinner to try and remove some of this paint, if that's what it is. Yes, it is coming off nice and clean, which is good, because I am going to paint this part white anyway, but it'd be better to have a nice clean foundation to work from as opposed to, ugh. It doesn't take a lot of acetone to pull that sticker right up. I'll show you right here. We just do a little dab and apply a little pressure. And look how quickly that sticker residue comes off. In case you can't tell, I'm a big fan of solvents. Alright, so now I've separated out all of the polycap pieces. I'm going to give the rest of these pieces a bath. Okay, so after a quick rinse in some acetone and a bath in some Dawn dish soap, these guys are looking a lot crisper and cleaner. So that's it, phase one disassembly complete. We have removed all of the nub marks that were still remaining. We've cleaned up the residue from the stickers, the previous paint job, and the super glue. We broke a couple of parts because of the super glue, but that's okay because we're just gonna super glue them back in place once everything is detailed up and painted and all that good stuff. We threw out the old polycap hands because we're gonna be replacing them with these high definition builder's parts hands. These are gonna hold the weapon better in place anyway. We were lucky not to have to dive into the epoxy putty to repair any divots and gouges, so that was good. We will be replacing the missing beam glaive with a duplicate part of this beam trident, which is also broken, but we'll do something about that as well. In the next video, I'm going to scribe some more details into this piece to really make it pop. I'm going to use two different methods. One, using this metal scribe stencil. As you can see, it's got a bunch of little shapes in there that you can trace in using your scriber. And for curved pieces, I tend to find using just a little bit of tape and tracing the outside of that tape to be a little easier. And I'll show you what I mean when we dive into that. I hope you guys are enjoying this series so far. If so, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Hopefully in the next week, we can make a lot more progress with this kit and maybe move on to one of the others. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I will catch you later.